This month has seen a tidal wave of new tech, and there have been some particularly interesting new releases. Given the number of new releases, I thought it prudent to round up 5 of my favourite ones and share them with you, because amongst all of the noise, it can be very easy to miss out on something that you might find quite interesting. So with that said, let's start with some new wheels from King. Perhaps branding them as just new wheels from King may be a little unfair, because these aren't actually just another wheel set. No, instead, these wheels claim to be the first fully recyclable road wheels. They use a material called FusionFibre, which is created by a company called CSS Composites, and they base themselves out of Utah over in the States. These wheels, which have been named the ARD 44s, are created using a thermoplastic, and the theory is the FusionFibre can be downcycled into other components. So while the wheels could never become a new set of wheels again, they could be turned into something like some swanky tyre levers or similar. Essentially, something a little less high profile. For viewers that are really in the know, you may be aware of another company called Revel who are doing something very similar. And they use the same FusionFibre, and they too are turning their old broken wheels into tyre levers. So the concept itself isn't entirely new to the market. And it's the same company, CSS Composites, which are making the wheels for both brands. A couple of brands may have beaten King to the punch, but this is the first time that this material has been used on a set of road wheels. And of course, this is the first time that King have released a set of complete wheels. I think you'll agree, they cut a pretty striking look, and as you'd expect, the rims are laced onto the very thing which King are known for, that being some very swanky, albeit slightly weighty, hubs. It won't surprise you at all that this rim innovation and range-topping hub combo doesn't come cheap. A set of these wheels will set you back $2,850. So they are right up there with the best on the market. And this got me thinking, because the claimed weight on these wheels is around 1,525 grams. Remarkably average when considering the 44mm rim depth. Now, the weight isn't terrible by any means, and as I said, the King hubs do tend to be on the slightly heavier end of the scale. I just wonder how many people that might end up putting off. And if it's not the weight of the wheels that puts people off, perhaps it could be the specs of the rim. I'm sure the 44mm depth will be a popular one, but these rims are hookless, and they do have a 25mm internal rim width. So, in line with the 2023 ETRTO recommendations for tyre size, the minimum size that you should mount to these wheels would be a 29mm tyre. Regardless of the hard specs, if the sole purpose of these rims is to open up the market to a slightly more environmentally friendly option, then I am all for it. Perhaps there is a customer base out there who do want to spend a little more and know that their wheels are made of something which takes a step in the right direction. From one new product which makes use of a friendly version of carbon fibre to another, Kask has launched a brand new helmet, dubbed the Elemento. Now, before I go any further into what the new lid is all about, I think it's worth just touching upon that name and what it means. Kask says it came up with the name because of the use of a brand new material called fluid carbon-12. Since carbon sits on the periodic table and is one of the most abundant elements in the atmosphere, it decided to pull on this and then name the helmet as such. A little more on that new fluid carbon-12 material though. It is a technopolymer composite, and it's been incorporated into the helmet via 2 injection molded pieces, kind of like tectonic plates. There's one big piece on the top of the helmet and the second which can be found on the sides and kind of wraps around the edges. Now, it's a little bit more hidden, but it's still very much present. The carbon shell it forms plays a critical role in creating a lot of the strength for additional impact protection, or so Kask claim. With the increase in strength, it allowed Kask to reduce the amount of EPS, or expanded polystyrene, down to 1mm in some places, and then that went a really long way to making the helmet more breathable. The engineers wanted to battle the compromise of aerodynamics versus ventilation, and it says that by increasing the strength of the helmet casing, it could reduce the amount of EPS to better increase ventilation while reducing the size of the holes to aid in better aerodynamics. I've currently got this helmet on test, and while I don't plan on testing the impact strength of this helmet anytime soon, I am looking forward to seeing how it really stacks up against the Protone. Kask says that the Elemento isn't as aero as the Utopia or as breathable as the Vellegro, so it will be fascinating to see if it can be significantly better than the Protone, which, for Kask's sake, I really hope it is, because it does not come cheap. The new lid will cost £335 or $400 or 375 euros. So stay tuned for that review, because I'll expect to have it out in the next couple of months. From one North Italian brand to another, Pirelli recently launched a new road tyre, which sits within its ever-expanding TLR range. Named the P0 Race TLR 4S, it's pretty clear what this tyre has been designed to do. It's a year-round race tyre that can be used in summer as well as winter. It does have a pretty standard 120 TPI casing with a nylon breaker for additional puncture protection. The tyre has come out of the brand's brand new Italian factory in Milan, and it looks to be a pretty good addition to its tyre lineup. I also like the fact that this tyre goes up directly against Continental's GP5000 ASTR, which also wasn't released too long ago. One big difference between the two is price. The Pirelli comes in at about 10 units of currency less than the Conti option, no matter where you are based in the world. So expect to see them listed at either €85, around £80, or around $100. The tyre is available in sizes 28, 30 and 32, and this is in contrast to the GP5000 ASTR, which is available in sizes 25, 28, 32 and 35. Now, I'm very keen to give these tyres a test, because as the space for year-round tyre performance hots up, I think there's a real possibility that these Pirellis could be delivering a better value option than others available. Amazingly, they aren't the only Four Seasons tyres that have been recently released. Specialized has dropped a new tyre called the S-Works Mondo. With a big focus on long tread life and puncture protection, but in the form of a lightweight race tyre, it too is going after the same market. The S-Works Mondo has borrowed compound technology from the S-Works Turbo, as it too features the T2 compound on the centre of the tread, with the grippier T5 compound on the shoulders for cornering grip, which is also paired with a slightly grippier tread pattern as well. The Mondos have again a 120 TPI casing, but the big curveball here is that this tyre is only £55 here in the UK, a huge chunk cheaper than both the GP5000 ASTR and the Pirelli P0 Race TLR 4S. The weight isn't too bad either, because a 28mm tyre comes in at 310 grams. Happily, I have been sent a pair of these tyres, so let me know down below, would you be interested in a three-way contest between all of these tyres? One thing is for sure, these tyres have seen some pretty thorough testing by all of the pros that are on Specialized supported teams, because they all ran this tyre at Roubaix, and as far as I'm aware, none of them had any major tyre issues. Now, this recent surge of race-focused endurance tyres does fascinate me somewhat, because it seems to stand in the direct opposition to the trend away from endurance bikes. I also didn't necessarily expect there to be as much demand for these tyres as manufacturers seem to think there is. That being said, if the puncture protection from these tyres is very good and you can safely run a grippier compound in winter, then perhaps these could really be an answer for a lot of riders who don't want to faff about changing tyres all the time. I'm certainly a big fan of the R&D that's going into these tyres, which in theory brings performance and versatility together. Specialized also dropped a new saddle at the same time as the new tyres, the Romin Evo Pro with mirror. Simply put, the brand has taken its popular Romin shape and then has combined it with its mirror technology, that being the 3D printed lattice which aims to reduce pressure and increase blood flow in the perineum. The rails are made of hollow titanium and the shell is made of reclaimed carbon fibre. It's available in a 143 and 155mm size. Here in the UK, it will be priced at £290. I don't expect to see too many of these saddles on road bikes, but for gravel and mountain bikes, this might be a really good next option. Just beware, these 3D printed saddle lattice structures are an absolute magnet for dirt to get wedged in. So even though it has a claimed weight of 243 grams in the 143mm size, it may increase dramatically after a few rides. As a last bit of bonus news, which only came across my desk today, the Tarmac SL7 has just been released at an altogether new price point as part of the brand's 2023 bike lineup. And no, it's not a new high, but instead a new low. Specialized will be selling a 105 Di2 comp build, which will be priced at £5,000 here in the UK. This makes it £500 cheaper than the previous cheapest model, which was the rival Axis build. It will come in a few colour options as well, and it will be fitted with some fairly basic DT R470 wheels. With a wheel swap though, this bike would be an amazing race setup for someone looking to take things a little more seriously. Happily, Specialized are giving the Aethos the same treatment and will be offering the same build for that bike too. On that note, I'll leave it there. Clearly there is a lot of exciting new tech around, but what is it that piques your interest? Let me know down below. If you enjoyed the video, then please do drop it a like, subscribe to the channel for more content, and I will see you again very soon.